Welcome to the Financial Flossing Podcast with Ross Brannan, guiding dental professionals to a brighter future. Ross Brannan is a financial advisor who knows it's not just about your teeth. He helps dental practice owners protect and maximize today's cash flow to plan for tomorrow's cash needs. Find him at rossbrannan.com. On the show, he brings together experts to help dental professionals looking to make smart money decisions to grow their income, turn their retirement goals into reality, and improve their lives. And now, here's your host, Ross Brannan.
Welcome to the show. My guest today is Todd Paskett. Todd is the president and COO of Supply Pattern, a growing software platform that helps dentists increase efficiency and profitability in their supply chain. His skill sets are in business development and growth, client success, sales leadership, and team development and operational efficiency. He especially loves working with dentists and assistants to implement technology to make their lives easier. Todd, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks, Ross. Glad to be here.
So let's talk real quick. What is Supply Pattern? It's pretty cutting edge from what I gather. Tell me about it.
Yeah, so Supply Pattern is a software platform using software and AI to make dentists' supply ordering more efficient and effective. So essentially what we do, we go into an office, we take their orders, and then we're able to shop the entire market at any given time. So we can scrape everything from all the ADA approved vendors and give them best pricing real time, and also increase efficiencies within their own ordering processes.
Now, are you getting volume pricing because you're using multiple practices and pulling it together, or what are you doing?
Great question. So there's kind of two ways that we drive our prices down. One is just by scraping data across the internet. So similar to, I don't know if you know, like Honey, PayPal, or Capital One Shopping, kind of consumer extensions like you use on Google Chrome. Basically what these do is when you go to order an item on Amazon, they give you different websites where the same item's available for cheaper. In a similar way, Supply Pattern does that for dental items. So we are able to scrape data from all ADA approved vendors daily. So when someone orders an item from us, we can see from all different vendors what the best price is on that item at any given time. So that's one way we're getting lower prices. And the second is like you said, because we have so many clients ordering through us, we're able to go to many of those vendors and basically take a conglomerate of our clients and say, hey, here's who we're ordering for. We've been ordering these items from you. We'd love to order more. The way this works is if you're the best price in the game for us, we're going to give you more production. So what can we do to bring these prices down? And so we're also doing that to drive prices down as well.
Well, what do you say to the dentist who says, I've got a supply rep? Why do I need this?
Ross, we get that question all the time. So, I mean, that's one of the biggest things that we're up against is obviously there's 3 or 4 main vendors in the industry that have the majority of dental offices. And the issue there is that they've been this way for so long, they're comfortable, it's kind of how it's always been. But because they have such a hold on the market, they're not able to get best pricing and they're not getting or taking full advantage of what the market has to offer. So one thing that we'll say is, of course, that we're going to be able to help you save a lot on money. The other thing is that we're going to help you save a lot on your time. Obviously, depending on the office, they love their rep. Some may love their rep. They've known them for a long time, but it can be really nice to simplify processes and allow software to do all that negotiation, to do that price shopping, those comparisons, to track all that for you. So we actually simplify that where you don't need to be corresponding with the rep consistently. The software takes care of all that for you.
And so this is a scenario where software could be killing a job. My dental rep doesn't need a job anymore or doesn't have a job anymore if we just do this. But like, how much could you save, the average practice in supply costs annually?
Great question. There's a couple ways to dive into that. First is just the cost savings itself. So if the average practice, in industry average right now is between 7 and 9% is what the average practice spends on supply costs. So that's against production. So for every $100 they make, they're spending between 7 and 9% on that. So
And if that's $1 million, that's $70,000 to $90,000.
Exactly. So with supply pattern and then being able to shop from all those different vendors and with our special pricing with those as well, we our fully optimized customers get between 3.5 and 4%. So for $1 million
3.5 and 4% savings, or they're spending 3.5 and 4% on supplies versus 7 to 9%.
Yes, exactly.
So you're cutting their supply costs in half.
Exactly. And that's against industry average. So obviously some will have special pricing, might be closer to, I think the best that come in when we talk to them are 5 to 6%. And that's typically like DSOs or those that have like massive group discount pricing. But even with those type of offices, we're still able to get another percentage to a percentage and a half point down, which depending on the office size and or how many offices an organization may have, very, very significant savings on costs.
Are you dealing with a lot of multi-site for practices or some DSOs?
Yes, we do both. We have a lot of just one-off practices that we work with and love working with. We do have DSO and large organizational offices as well. We're able to do or to handle both with ease just because of the way we built our software. So yes, many different kinds of clients that like what we have going on.
Well, you mentioned earlier that dental is a little bit kind of behind the curve versus other industries with this, and that's why you're in this market. So talk a little bit about why dental and the opportunity in dental.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's some interesting things we can look at there. I mean, if we look at the internet and what that's done for consumer goods, we consider Amazon, even Walmart being online, Etsy, kind of some of these type of softwares we're used to. What they've done is they've allowed more and more vendors access to a larger part of the market, where a vendor hops onto Amazon, and as long as they have high quality products and they're able to compete on price, those prices are going to be driven down until there's a good balance between quality and price, where consumers are saying, okay, yep, that's the one that's going to work for us. And that's why prices have been driven down so much because of softwares like Amazon. And so that hasn't happened within the dental industry. I kind of mentioned there's 3 or 4 main vendors that control a large majority of the market. Don't necessarily to call them out, but I think anyone listening will know who those are. Or even a few years ago, I think back in 2019, I'm not sure if you're familiar with this, but there was an 80 million class action lawsuit settlement with 4 of those large dental suppliers for price fixing, meaning that they fixing prices because they have such a control of the market that they're able to do certain things there. But kind of just an interesting point there. But kind of the way I would explain this, though, when you went just with an easy example, let's take eggs. So I know, like Ross, you're out in Florida. If you were to go to any grocery store in your area and just get a normal dozen eggs, assuming they're not cage free or anything special about them, grocery store to grocery store, the dozen eggs is going to cost about the same. Why is that? Because it's a commodity. There's a market standard price saying, okay, because there's so many different vendors here, this is the price for eggs because it's been commoditized. So now we go into dental industry, we look at something like gloves. There's over 200,000 dentists in the industry. Yet when we look at a box of gloves, I can guarantee if we go office to office, everyone is spending different prices on gloves. Why is that? Because there isn't access to all the different vendors that have gloves, even though they're there. So they're charging different prices depending on who your rep is, the kind of deals they're getting you, what you try to negotiate, when that shouldn't really be the case. And that's why if you bring in a software, someone that can watch that and kind of bring the parity or the fairness where you have all these different vendors that can compete equally, we'll begin to see that price drop down across the industry and bring that parity and make more items that should be commodity priced actually be that way.
And you don't see this
a little bit long-winded there, but
you don't see this in medical because there's substantially more physicians than there are dentists. And B, physicians are often associated with hospitals, so they have large buying groups or buying arrangements.
Exactly, and that's an interesting example that we've seen. We have a real life example of a supplier that has both a medical arm and a dental arm. And going back to our glove example, they package gloves for both the medical and the dental. And we've seen this. They send the exact same pack of gloves. They send it to the medical, like the medical arm, who have, like you said, buyer groups, or they have a lot more systems in place to watch this for an extremely discounted price for the exact same pair of gloves they send to the dental group at a much higher marked up price. The exact same pair of gloves. But because those systems aren't in place in the dental industry, we're seeing those massive price differences.
It's just basically it's fragmentation, and it's causing higher pricing.
Precisely.
So how long until you see, obviously you're kind of a market disruptor, how long until this kind of goes market wide where, your dental rep really is almost obsolete and everything is done software wise?
I think with what we're doing, just to be frank, it's a question of like, will Supply Pattern do it or someone else? But it has to happen. There will be this market shift where software and AI will allow this parity and allow these or bring these prices down. So as far as like making the rep obsolete, I think there's still a case where the rep is important. It might reduce the need for rep, like actually handling the day-to-day operations where they're going into the office, passing the gatekeeper, going into the drawer, looking what they need, say, okay, let me get it for you. Like that might become obsolete. But reps have important aspects where maybe they still do education. They're still teaching about new products. They still have that interaction where it's more of that education and helping to actually do the product development side of what these suppliers and vendors, I think, really should be focusing on, rather than kind of the price fixing and working with the dentist on that. So,
what kind of pushback are you getting from the supply companies?
Great question. So most supply companies, remember, there's over 400 ADA approved suppliers in the industry in the United States. Most love us. Even full catalog suppliers are happy to work with us when they're able to win any more market share, even if it's only on a select few of their items that they're able to get.
Well, let me interrupt you.
Go ahead.
What do you, please. I guess what I'm asking is like the Pattersons of the world.
Okay, the big dogs. So far, we haven't had a lot of issues with the Pattersons and the Shines and those yet, because we actually still order quite a bit from them, just straight up.
So I can buy the same Patterson supply through you and get it cheaper than buying from my Patterson rep.
Yeah, absolutely. In some cases, there's some things that Patterson or Shine, they have exclusive deals for. Like you can only buy a specific product from them, especially on the clinical side of things, something like a Reston, if you're familiar with. So we can't do a huge amount of savings on that. And that's like, go back to the egg example where you have the cage-free high vitamin D, they've been specially fed. Those are very specialized, highly specialized products that there's a reason that they're the price they are. And so those, obviously, they kind of have that pricing. But for the majority of products, absolutely, we can get better pricing for. And we do order a lot from Patterson and Shine because of that. And that's the thing is, I think hopefully anyone listening to this knows that like we're not trying to take those big guys, the big dogs out of business. Like we have no hate or animosity towards them. The idea here is not to destroy or take down any company, but it's to bring parity to all companies or allow any vendor the opportunity to compete on the open market. And I would assume as we move forward, companies like Patterson and Shine will adjust to that. Obviously, they have a massive rep team. They have these systems in place, and then they'll be able to adjust and then make changes as necessary. So I think we're going to be a driver in making that disruption and bringing those cost savings and increased profits for the dentists themselves.
So eventually what this really comes down to is the only real loser here is going to be the supply rep who's calling on office to office. He's going to take a pay cut over time. Patterson and Shine, they're going to sell their products and they'll get them Maybe they'll sell them for less, but they're going to hit their numbers. They will not be denied. It's just the middleman, which is the supply rep, who is going to be he's going to be the one, he or she's going to be the one who eats it in this scenario.
Well, it's an interesting question, and I mean, obviously, we're not exactly sure what will happen, how those companies will respond. I know, I mean, anyone that looks into the history of the industry, there's been suppliers in the past that have done disruptive things. They've taken special deals, they've done lower prices, and what typically happens is they'll sell off to your Pattersons and your Shines. They've done a lot of that consolidation. So it brings an interesting point for something like Supply Pattern. As we scale and then more and more offices use us, it's like, well, then what happens if we get those kind of offers? And I think from our core, our mission's always been to bring parity, competitive pricing, ordering automation, data transparency, increase efficiency and profitability to the dental industry. And so if we make that kind of a sell or make that transition, you sell off, are we still able to do that? Well, obviously we'll make that decision at that time, but I would question if that's the best decision for what we're trying to do. And I think as long as we can keep that parity and allow all to play fairly, it's really interesting to imagine what could happen and where the industry will take us.
How does someone's listening, they're a dentist, they own their own practice, they're like, well, I do $1 million in gross production a year. I want to save X amount of dollars. How do they work with you? What's that process look like?
Great question. So we've tried to make this as easy as possible. You can just go onto our website, supplypattern.com. You can either request a demo or just sign up directly. I'd usually just recommend requesting a demo. You'll get on with one of our awesome client success managers. They'll go through and actually ask some questions about the office, kind of figure out what their current supply process is, and then get into one of our live accounts from one of our real clients and show exactly what we're doing, how the catalogs work, how returns work, how do we take care of all your back orders, how do we feed you data to make decisions, all these kind of things so that you can make a really informed decision. Yep, I feel comfortable doing this. I think, Ross, for all your people, we're happy to do this where we'll offer the first 2 months completely free of subscription. So I should say the way we make our money is by a monthly subscription fee, which is actually really interesting. You compare it to like a rep. Typically how reps make their money is a percentage of sales. So for every, for all supplies that they ship, they get a percentage back. So we stay clear of that because we feel just having a monthly subscription keeps us aligned with our clients. We're not incentivized to sell more to them, just sell certain products to them, and nothing like that. They just pay us a simple monthly fee, and then we service them and make sure they're happy with exactly the orders they need. But like I was saying, for your client or for your people, Ross, we're happy to give those first 2 months completely free so that they can try this. No questions asked, no contracts in place, just to see if it works for them. If they see these cost savings, like we're talking about right now, if it brings greater efficiency to their office, and then we can go from there.
That's fantastic. So if someone's interested, it's supplypattern.com. How will they take advantage of the 2 month free offer?
Yeah, they can just mention your name, Ross, or just the Financial Floss podcast, and our client success managers will know what to do from there.
That's awesome. Todd, is there anything that I didn't ask that I should have asked about Supply Pattern?
Well, I mean, there's so many things we talk about. I think the one other thing that we haven't really delved into is the efficiency side of this. I don't know, do we have time to talk about that real quick? Or?
Yeah, go for it, yeah.
Okay. So I just quickly mention this. So we found in our studies that the average office spends about 5.5 hours a week on supply ordering. So what that would include is like talking to their reps. So typically an office, just so you know, does not work with just one vendor. They'll have their main vendor, but they're also going to have specialty vendors they order different things from. So that's talking to them, working on returns when they have things go wrong, back orders. So when they order something, they aren't alerted for a few more days after that saying, hey, this actually isn't here, and they have to scramble and try to find it somewhere else. Inventory management, all that stuff adds up to about 5.5 hours a week for the office assistant over that. So with supply pattern, all of that is taken care of, mostly software driven. So they no longer have to worry about returns. They just simply on the software go and click the item, and then we submit the return. They just get a return label, and we take care of the rest. Back orders, we take care of everything, so they never even touch those. Things like that. It drops down to less than 30 minutes a week.
Well, when you quantify 5 hours a week of time saved at an average labor rate of X, then that gets pretty substantial.
Exactly. I mean, even the way I typically talk to dentists about it is like, if you can even do 2 more procedures in that time with the assistant's time, let's say the average procedure is $500 per procedure. So that's an extra $1,000 a week. That's another $52,000 in production a year just by this time savings that your office staff will have by using or implementing software into your systems. And that doesn't even go into the savings that you're actually of not paying that person for those additional hours. So there's a lot of ways you can look at that, but the efficiency is a huge part to consider as well in making this decision. It's not only cost savings, but your processes are more efficient and you're taking huge headaches off of your staff and allowing them to focus on what they actually want to do. I mean, typically your person over ordering is trained to be chair side. So giving them back chair side and what they actually enjoy doing.
This is, just so cool, so interesting. And it's really one of those things where technology creates the efficiency to save time and money. It's just a really cool thing. So it's supplypattern.com. Use a promo code financial flossing or promo code Ross. You'll get your first 2 months free. And Todd, I tell you, this is, I really appreciate you coming on today. This is really, really cool.
Hey, appreciate your time, Ross. It's been a pleasure talking to you.
You've been listening to the Financial Flossing Podcast with Ross Brannan.
This has been another episode of Financial Flossing with Ross Brannan, guiding dental professionals to a brighter future. If you liked what you heard, consider subscribing wherever you listen to podcasts. For more on Ross Brannan, visit rossbrannan.com.
This podcast is for informational purposes only. Guest speakers and their firms are not affiliated with or endorsed by PAS, Guardian, or North Florida Financial, and opinions stated are their own. External sites and materials are provided for your convenience in locating related information and services. Guardian, its subsidiaries, agents, and employees expressly disclaim any responsibility for and do not maintain, control, recommend, or endorse third-party sites, organization, products, or services, and make no representation as to completeness, suitability, or quality thereof. Guardian, its subsidiaries, agents, and employees do not provide tax, legal, or accounting advice. Consult your tax, legal, or accounting professional regarding your individual situation. Ross is a registered representative and financial advisor of Park Avenue Securities, LLC, PAS. OSJ 3664, Coolidge Court, Tallahassee, Florida, 32311. 850-562-9075. Security products and advisory services offered through PAS. Member FINRA, SIPC. Financial representative, the Guardian Life Insurance Company of America. Guardian, New York, New York. PAS is a wholly owned subsidiary of Guardian. North Florida Financial is not an affiliate or subsidiary of PAS or Guardian. Arkansas Insurance License Number 16139032. California Insurance License Number 0L10073 2022-148295. Expires 12/24.